Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox. I shot a video in the woods, which I realize is more visually appealing than me sitting in my truck. And I showed it to my wife. We're out running errands. And she said, yeah, you can't post that video. It's way too negative. And I was ranting and screaming at this camera and just going off. So I'm going to try and talk about the same subject matter in a more positive light. I'm frustrated. Let me begin by saying I think the concept of a militia is good. I think that, people should be trained and band together so that when needed, they can band together and protect themselves and their community and their neighborhood against things that they need protecting from. Doesn't matter what. I think the concept of a militia is a good idea. I think the execution of that concept here in America is badly done. I'm going to try and stay positive. Of course, I'm talking about I'm spurring off comments off of what I've been reading and seeing and watching on YouTube on the Standoff in Oregon, right? So let me just give you some advice on things you may wish to consider should you join or probably better form something like a militia. I like to think of it as a neighborhood watch on steroids, right? I guess the first thing is you got to win the psychological battle, and I wouldn't call it a militia. And I can hear people now, blah, 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 caving in, whatever. It's just what I would do. If you're going to conduct an operation, after Tiawaki or whatever, you need to think beyond the end of your nose. You need to think beyond a week from now. You should not go into a situation where you think, I'm going to seize this facility and then 2 weeks later be requesting supplies for things like French vanilla creamer for your coffee, sleeping bags. See, I'm trying really hard to stay positive. You should think ahead, and you should plan. And you should not be a part of an organization with leadership that does not think ahead and plan. Military operations are very logistically dependent. And that doesn't matter if you're regular military, unconventional, irregular forces or whatever. Logistics is huge. Somebody famous, I studied long ago, said that tactics are for amateurs and logistics are for experts or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot to that. You have to think beyond the end of your nose. If you are planning on taking an action, then we do what we call wargaming. So if I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to seize this, ranger station. What is the response going to be? What can I anticipate as a likely response? Who is going to respond, and how are they going to respond? What are they going to do? What are they going to bring to bear on me? So that's the first thing you have to do is figure out, all right, if I take this action, it's like playing chess. If I take this action, they're going to do this. Okay, then how am I going to deal with that? And you have to be realistic in your expectations of what they're going to do. You can't just say, I'm going to seize this thing and everything's going to be good and it'll all be fine. You have to think, what are they going to do? All right, what am I going to do to counter that? What are they then going to do to counter me? And then what am I going to do to counter them? And you have to go through this, and you develop several courses of action. And this applies to everything. You know what? I think my first video was on pace planning. Southern Prepper 1 is the one that got me originally shooting this video today. I watched his video on the situation. I'm going to put his link down below. You should go watch it. He has some good thoughts there, too. And you can learn some things. But number one is think ahead, come up with an actual plan, and then figure out how this plan is going to work 2 weeks from now. That there's no way that a military unit, which militia, right? They consider themselves a military unit, should ever deploy without the stuff they need, like sleeping bags and wool socks. Keeping it positive there, Pastor Joe. You shouldn't have to be asking for that. And number two, you shouldn't need a resupply if you're planning on a siege, because what is the standard operating procedure for American forces. You know, if you seize a federal building, who do you expect to respond? The FBI and the marshals is what I would think. How do you expect them to respond? Normally they throw up a perimeter, cut off the utilities, and start negotiating, right? So that would have been a common thing to think about. Okay, we're going to seize this thing. We're going to have so much time before they throw up a perimeter and seize it, you know, and keep us from getting outside help. So you ought to have stuff you need. That's becoming abundantly clear they did not. So that's one thing. Think ahead, come up with plans and counterplans. Another thing to think about is, what's your objective? See, this isn't just getting dressed up in our cool little multicam and parading around with our guns, which is stupid, and I'm going to come to that again. But this is, you know, an action taken supposedly for a reason. What's the reason? What do you hope to achieve? What is your end state, your desired end state? How do you see this thing happening and unfolding? I don't think there is one. And once the leader has this desired end state in mind, he has to be able to clearly articulate it to his people, and in this case, to the public, right? Because this is a public affairs, you know, trying to get it out campaign, right? News. The militia, can I use that term? You know, the Bundy et al., their message is not getting out. Now, granted, the press is against us and everything, but they don't have a coherent message coming out. They don't have a spokesman. They don't have, you know, talking points. They don't have any of just the basic things that you need to do. And so you should start thinking about this with your organization. You should have a public affairs type person, the face of the unit, the movement that's going to talk to the press. And then they should be briefed and know what they're going to say and what they're not going to say. The press. The press is making hay with this. You know, the administration, I thought the FBI was going to throw up roadblocks and shut down communication, but they're smarter than me. They're allowing communication to go back and forth both ways. And by that, I mean YouTube videos and cell phones, and they're letting the press in there and stuff like that, because it's doing nothing but helping the administration's message. The pictures that are getting out in big, large numbers are fat white dudes with weird facial hair, carrying around evil-looking assault rifles. Who's benefiting from that message? There's a time and a place to wear camo, but probably not when you're standing in the middle of a road surrounded by news people. There's no need for it. You know, camouflage is supposed to hide you, not make you stick out. I'm getting a little negative again, but it feels to me like people are playing like dress up with their Barbies, you know? Ooh, I'm going to wear this. Do you think I should wear this knife or this knife? Look at real guerrilla fighters. You know what real guerrilla fighters wear? What I'm wearing right now. Just what people wear. It's not time to play dress up. The dressing up, the posing, posturing, probably a better word. It's working against those of us who believe that we should have the freedoms to carry firearms and own chest rigs and body armor and yada, 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 but it's working against us. There's a time and a place for everything. Now would probably be a good time for the guys who are there to be dressed like me, you know? Right now, you can carry your long gun in the back of your truck. You can get at it if you need it. Carry your handgun underneath your sweatshirt, no problem. You got to win the PR campaign. That's the word I was looking for earlier. You got to have a PR campaign plan. You got to think it through. You have to get your message out. You have to hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. How come politicians have talking points that they just use over and over and over again? Because they're going to make sure those talking points get through. That's not happening in this case. So with your unit, your organization, you need to do that. Think about what you're wearing. Think about how you present yourself. If you're going to have guys in uniforms, then they should be uniform. They should all be in the same uniform. If people are all in the same uniform, that can be intimidating. It looks professional. When they're all in a mishmash of army uniforms, it looks like a bunch of bubbas. You know, it'd be better just tell people wear civvies. Just wear civvies. Come on. Did you see the interaction at the FBI? You know, when the I gotta stay positive here. When the 3%ers from Idaho showed up and tried to hand Articles of Confederation or something. I don't know what they were trying to hand to the FBI guys. See what the FBI guys are wearing? See, those guys are professionals. They've got plans for plans and backups to their plans. They don't feel the need to posture. They threw on body armor because they thought somebody might start shooting at them, but underneath that body armor, they were wearing jeans and flannel shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. Another thing. If you join a regular advertised militia group, you are going to have confidential informants in that group. If you want a real group, if you want to actually be able to do something, you need to just start a group with like 3 people. 3 people you've known for a long time, and just start working the basics together. You probably don't need to be driving halfway across the country to go fight somebody else's fight when the principal people of that fight said they don't want help anyway. Think, people. Don't emote. There's a lot of emotion going back and forth. People are saying, oh yeah, they're up in the FBI's face, man, this has never happened before. Oh, I hope that this doesn't come to bloodshed, but if it does, there'll be bloodshed on both sides. People have no idea. You really do hope it doesn't come to bloodshed, because it'll be mostly one-sided. Don't believe your own fairy tales. There's something to professionalism and training, and it's not about how you look. I'm frustrated. I'm trying really hard to keep this positive. I think I'm just going to leave it there. Think ahead. Don't wear camo when you don't need to wear camo. Have a PR plan. Have a plan. Know where you want to get from here and what you want to do. Wargame out your options. Consider alternate courses of action, and be a little flexible. All right, maybe you can take some of this and apply it to yourself and think it through. Play both sides of the game in your head. If I was the Bundys, I would do this, this, and this. If I was the federal government and the Bundys did this to me, I would do this, this, and this. If you do that, if you sit around and kick around those ideas with your people, and again, try and play both sides, you'll learn stuff and you'll get better at what you're doing. There should be a reason for everything you do and don't do, and you should really think it out. And it's not about, oh, I'm going to look cool when I get on CBS News tonight. All right. Hey, I may see you out there.